Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. So welcome everyone. My guest this week is Jeff Mauro. And Jeff, we came across Jeff years ago when we were watching a Food Network show with our children. I'm happy you're here, Jeff. I'm really excited to talk to you.
It's my pleasure, Julie. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad this worked out.
So we first discovered and watched the Food Network a lot because number one, my husband loves cooking and everything food related, but our kids, as they were growing up, we wanted to make sure that we could watch shows that were appropriate for them. So it was either sports in our house, honest to God, sports or the Food Network. Or HGTV for me, but the boys never wanted to watch HGTV. No. So they were like...
Not as popular with the young men as Food Network or sports,
And I was always like, let's break it up. I love sports too, baseball, we're big Cub fans and basketball, et cetera. But I'm like, we got to break it up. So we'd watch Food Network. And that's where we came across you when you won the competition. Was it 10 years ago?
Food Network Star Season 7, 10 years ago. Yeah, that was, before I won that competition, I was a private chef in the city for a large mortgage company, and I'd feed 350 people a day, the same people, 4 years. I went to culinary school before that when I lived in Los Angeles. I'm born and raised Chicagoan, went to Bradley University in Peoria.
Oh yeah.
Got a degree in radio, television, but always performed and always made my bones working in food. My first jobs were at butcher shops, delis when I was in high school, and I continued that on through college, but also had a band in college. So performed every weekend, once during the week. And I was always in improv and Second City programs, Groundlings in LA and stuff. So I always wanted to meld my love for food with my love for entertaining. And I felt like Food Network was the pinnacle of that. So I went to literally moved me and my then fiance, now wife, to Los Angeles to try to hustle and make it in TV and food TV. Mm-hmm. And I started, auditioning for all this stuff and producing my own cooking show pilots and doing all this, but I never had the credentials. So I rolled in culinary school there and went to school, graduated valedictorian, worked in restaurants, started auditioning for Food Network Star. So it took me about 4 tries to finally make it on to Food Network Star. But once I got on, I ended up winning. And, that led to Sandwich King, my show that ran for 5 seasons, and we're in 28th or 9th season of The Kitchen. I've lost count. That's been going for 7 years. And my new show, Kitchen Crash, which is a game show. You can see it on Discovery Plus. It's wild, and many more things. So it's been a heck of a journey, but I'm truly blessed and thankful.
I love that when people say blessed, because obviously it means they're appreciative of their life and everything. But I think it's selling yourself short a little bit, because it's like saying I got lucky, and you didn't get lucky. You busted your butt and you went to LA and you tried, and you didn't just stop at one time. Because a lot of people will say, well, I tried that and it didn't work for me. It's like, maybe it wasn't the right timing. And for you, obviously it took 4 tries, and some people would just say, well, it wasn't meant to be, so I'm just not going to do that anymore. But you had a dream and you're like, I'm going to keep going for it. And you kept going for it.
You know what? It's that didn't come without its, being discouraged. Mm-hmm. In those really down, dark times when you give up and all that, and all the cliches you hear. But I genuinely really like performing. I always loved TV. I wanted to make a career of it. It took me a long time to make a dime doing anything besides cooking. So I knew I had the cooking, but I was never going to be the best chef in the world. I was doing stand-up, a lot of improv. I'm good at it, but I was never going to be the funniest comic or sketch comic of all time. But I could be the funniest chef. So if I kind of zeroed in on an angle that was kind of back and bolstered by the foundation of sandwiches and the love I have of that simple yet hard to perfect food, I thought this is my angle. So it's all about kind of, people are like, how do you do it? How'd you get on TV? I want to be on TV. I'm like, well, that's where you got to stop. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Everybody wants to, like, how do I get famous? Like kids ask me that all, like millennials. They don't even ask me, how do you become an entertainer?
Right.
How do you become a successful chef? How do you become a communicator? It's
right.
How do I become famous?
Right.
And that to me, I don't have the answer for. I mean, there's 150,000 ways to become famous in this world now.
Right.
I don't know any of them other than the hard way. But there's plenty of easy ways that I think are fleeting and obviously less dependable.
Did someone suggest that to you, to meld and combine your love of food for your performing your comedy? Or did you figure that, like, have a light bulb moment when you were there in LA with your wife trying to make it, where you're like, I can do these two things together? Like, was that a process, or was it just like this is what I can do?
Yeah, good question. I was actually, when I graduated college, I got an undergrad in communications, radio, TV production. I immediately opened a deli with my cousin like 2 weeks after I graduated from this liberal art school. My parents wanted to kill me. I was still paying off loans like 2 years ago too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I got friends, I got confidence, I got whatever. College gave me a lot other than a necessary degree in what I wanted to pursue. Because I wanted to be in food, because I knew how to make money doing food, and I liked the deli world. But I also, when we opened the deli, I got cast in Tony and Tina's Wedding in Chicago that same week. So my life was split in the middle. I'd run the deli during the day, make sandwiches, soups, sides, salads, schmears, right? Caterings, all this stuff, interact with the customers, slice meat, all that stuff I always loved to do. And then at night, I'd get in the car and I'd go to the city. I put on the whatever. I started as a waiter, then went to groomsman, then best man, then MC. And then the last 2 years I was Tony.
Oh my God.
So I had this life where I never had one day off, right? Because the deli was 5 days a week. The show was 6 days a week. And I was young enough to sustain that. But I loved fulfilling both of those things. And those both sides of the brains were constantly, activated. And the pinnacle of that is, how do I still cook, show my skills for cooking while entertaining? And that's Food Network, obviously. So I knew, like, nobody suggested it. The one person that kind of propelled me was my cousin, Joe Ballerini, who lives in Los Angeles, a film graduate of USC, a very well-established screenwriter, and this was 20 something years ago. And he was like, come out to LA, I'll hook you up. You know what I mean? He's like, you come out here. You're young. I love Sarah. I love you. Come out. I'll show you the ropes. We're the same age. I got some contacts now that I'm selling scripts and stuff, which is a very difficult thing to do in Los Angeles. I mean, talk about, everybody and their mother moving to Los Angeles because they got a script idea, but nobody writes the damn script. So at the end of the day, your competition is, those people who are very unmotivated.
Yeah.
So I was motivated at this time. I was like, I got to leave Tony and Tina's Wedding. We sold the deli, 4 years of each thing. And my cousin's like, come out, we'll produce a pilot and we'll shop it around. So that was like, he was the catalyst for that. Otherwise, I probably, if I moved out there blind, I probably wouldn't have had I didn't have any success in LA, but I learned everything I needed to learn in those 4 years,
Wow. So cool. It's so fun to hear stories of just kind of like bouncing around and trying to figure it out. And, like, you get the fundamentals, you went to school, that's great. You graduated, that's great. You're like, all right, I'm going to do this. And the fact that you had all that energy and all that, like, all right, I'll just 5 days a week. And I did the same thing. I was either working 2 jobs or working full time and going to school for full time. It was always just like, all right, I'll figure it out and I'll do it. And then I just do the next thing and do the next thing. And you just keep going towards the thing that's bringing you some joy and making you excited. And hopefully you'll get there eventually. But it sounds like it sounds like you had to do a lot of hard work, but it also sounds like you kept inching along. It wasn't like years and years and years. It was like you kept changing things and inching along kind of quickly. Sounds like.
I think the thing that I did the best was just keep always working at a craft, whether it was enrolling in culinary school, doing weird open mic comedy shows, making $20 a show for doing stand-up in the basement of a bowling alley / fried chicken joint. Hand to God did that. To always like doing something. And I think that a lot of these kids or whoever's coming on up, I think the greatest thing, other than like be nice and be aggressive and work hard and be, don't be afraid to be tired and maxed out, all that stuff. But don't be afraid to put yourself in weird situations, because you never know who's watching or listening or recording this day and age. You know what I mean? You never know. I mean, everybody's always recording. But for me, it was like, you never knew. Like, sure, I'll do this talent show on a cruise ship, even though I don't want to. And I'm awkward and chubby and I'm 16 and I shouldn't. Yeah. I don't feel like singing to a group of 300 senior citizens, but you never know. One of them might be a movie producer. Right. So do it. Yep. And then with that weird performance comes another developed muscle that you can tap into later in life. So yeah, weird situations, and I guess timing plus weird situations plus, aggressiveness equals success. I don't know. I'm sure there's a quote. Figure it out.
It's true. It's like, don't be afraid to say yes to things that you aren't sure are going to get you.
Yeah.
I feel like you're always being guided anyway. So if someone's asking you or an opportunity is presenting itself and it doesn't seem like it's really what you want, it's like it presented itself for a reason. You were in that room at the time, or someone called you, or you met this person randomly or whatever. It's like, you're getting asked for a reason. So why not just try it? And if you get there and it's not what you want, it's not the end of the world. You can say no, you can turn around, you can do it and then never do it again, whatever it is. But like you said, you just never know who's there. You never know who you're talking to. You never know. Who yeah, it's very interesting. So how did you, while you were kind of carving your way and then, so you graduated from college, but then you said you went to culinary school, as you're trying all these different things and like, okay, you wanted to meld everything together and you're trying out and not making it on the Food Network until the fourth time or whatever. What were you doing along the way to remain peaceful and happy and content? Sounds like you found a great girl. That's always a good thing.
That's always great. She's my wife, Sarah's a nurse, and we've been together since we were 21, and we were friends in college for 4 years before that, before we even smooched or anything. So, which is good, because otherwise I probably would have blew it in college, and we wouldn't be together this day. But we've been dating. She's been with me, from the beginning, when there was nothing, in the 15 years after that, when it was nothing. So we have a good history, but she also has the ability to ground me, keep me realistic along the way, not even with the TV career and all that's, and all the kind of trappings, the potential trappings that come with that.
Right.
But when I was coming on up, it was like, what are you doing? I know you want to do this. You have these dreams, but what are you doing to achieve them? Yeah. I know I'm getting up and I'm working all these shifts at the hospital and doing this to kind of keep us afloat. And I know you're making $14 an hour slicing deli meats, but what are you doing at night? What are you enrolled in?
Yeah.
Are you doing improv? Are you doing stand-up? Are you hitting the open mics? Not like pushing me, but like also like having me, asking the question, gentle nudges that forces me to ask those questions of myself, which are, get up off your butt and do some stuff.
Right. And she wouldn't, if she didn't care about your happiness, or you never, my husband's the same way. You say you want something. We've done this. Same with us. We met when we were 21. We've been married almost 25 years this summer. But there's always this, you said you wanted this, and how bad do you really want it? Because I don't see you doing this, this, and this. And that's fine if you changed your mind, but I'm going to remind you what you told me you really wanted. And I'll just be here saying like, okay, I'm support you either way. But if you really want it, you might have to try this, or this. If you don't, that's okay, but you're not going to get there if you don't try this, or this. And that's that nice.
So true. It's so like it, and I think that moment, like that break, that just pivotal moment in my career, in our relationship. My wife's name is Sarah. Sarah said to me when it was my what I said was my final tryout, the final submission of the video and resume, and for Food Network Star season 7. I started at season 4 auditioning. And I'm like, by that time I had my son, Lorenzo. He was was a year and a half old, 2 years old. I had my job. I had a vision. I was performing in a big band, singing like Sinatra crooner stuff with 3 girls who were doing Andrew's sister stuff with horns. Any way I can perform, right? Music, comedy, anything. And that was like fun. And we're playing at places in the city, jazz clubs. So I was scratching my performance itch. I was auditioning for commercials, like carpet commercials, whatever would pay. Any way I can get out there. And this was like the last try. I was like, this is it. I'm going to open a deli. I'm going to leave the mortgage company cafe that I had. which was great hours. I was making good money. I had autonomy. I had employees under me, but I had other, it's a mortgage company. So you get big money guys are be like, let's open a joint down the street. You're like, okay, I'm going to throw this video in. If I get rejected, it's over. It's over. I'm done. I'm finally giving up. It's been 15 years. I am done. I'm exhausted. I just want to be happy with my family. We just bought our first house and the whole thing was complete. But she goes, no, this is it. You got to think about this before you hit send on this video. We got to think about this. I think you're getting on. I think this is the year. So if you press send, I think our lives are going to change forever. Are we prepared for that?
She just had a feeling.
She always says she's gifted in that way. You know what I mean? She always says that. And she's a very good read of people. And like, if I listened to her 100%, I'd probably be way farther in my career. But this time I was like, you don't know me. I only fail, this is just what I do. I send it in. I try. And I'm going to be so happy when this is done. Cause I can just move on with my life.
Yes, I hear you.
And you never can really, it's always going to be inside you. And I sent in that video and they called me in a day and said, you made it to the semifinals. We're flying you out to New York to do the final round of auditioning and casting. And she's like, I told you so. And I'm like, she's like, wait a minute. If you get on that plane, not only are you going to be on the show and get for the final cast and you're going to be on TV finally, but you're going to win the whole damn thing. And our life really, really changed. Are we prepared to do this? And I said, you don't know me. I'm going to get on that plane and I'm going to do this because I've been on that plane before the first time I auditioned and they sent me to New York and I went through hours of casting and everything and I aced it and they never called me back. So I was like, that's what's going to happen again. You'll see. I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
And man, I got on that plane and sure enough, day after that trip, I got cast on that show and I won. And the life is not, it's been a fabulous change and it's had so many ups and downs and so many things, but my favorite part about my career thus far is that it's just been smooth trajectory. It hasn't been, overnight. Yeah, things did change. I won a reality show, which is precarious at best when, entering the entertainment field, right? A lot of people fizzle out. Yeah. But I just wanted to be like, I just want to smoothly ride this, even plateau for as many years as I can, but it's been somewhat upward, and I just came out with my first book, Come On Over, which just got released a couple weeks ago. It's an official bestseller. And everything else that that this career has afforded me to pursue, from music to podcast to books and everything else in between. So I love it. See, kids, just, I guess, find a good partner and put yourself in weird situations.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the key things and we tell our boys this all the time, like it's picking the right person is, if not the most important, one of the most important, I think it's probably the most important thing you'll ever do with your life, because jobs can change, careers can change, desires, whatever. All of that can change, but if you're not with the right person, all of it doesn't matter what, if you get what you want or not.
True.
If you're not with the right person, you're not gonna be fulfilled the way that you want to be anyways.
So true.
Yeah, it's a big one. I just had a really good, so I don't know if you heard that I wrote a book too.
Yes, Peace and Possibilities. Congratulations.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective.
What's the premise of the book?
So it's all about figuring out how to stay happy, peaceful, and content every day of your life, using these 8 secrets in the book, the 8 chapters. Even if you're not exactly where you want to be. So maybe you're 21 and you just graduated, you have no idea what you want to do. Maybe you're 15, or maybe you're 50 like me and you are doing kind of what you want to do, but every day of your life can still be good and peaceful and happy and content, even if you're not exactly where you want to be. The bottom line, the first chapter is possibilities, because at the end of the day, anything really is possible if you believe it. So you really, really, really have to believe it. Like your wife believed it for you, and you believed it too. Otherwise you wouldn't have kept trying. And if you really have a dream and it doesn't work out the first time, it just means there's a little bump in the road and that you have to take a turn. You can get there eventually. But the belief is the biggest part. And it's just all about what tools you can use every day to still be, it talks about gratitude and mindfulness and connecting with the right people. So whether that's a stranger on the street in the deli or the person you marry, like it's all meant to help you. and or to teach you something. And yeah, so it was really fun writing it.
Congratulations.
Is
That's
that
great. I know.
is that your first book?
Oh God. Yeah. What a
Yeah.
bear, man.
All
It took
right.
2 years to write this thing.
Yeah. It's
You know,
hard.
it's hard. There's a lot of words in it too. You know, my intros to the recipes and head notes. It's like almost like a half of a memoir. You
Oh
know, a
no.
lot of history about me, my family, my upbringing, and everything in between. And the recipes are very well. You know, it's 111 recipes. You got to test the
Wow.
recipes. You got to photograph them. It's a lot of work, and you know, I like selling it. The selling it is very invigorating because it's like, okay, it's my baby, and I
Right.
birthed it, and I'm so proud of it that I want the whole world to know about it and meet my
Right.
baby. But you know, if they come after me with another book offer, I will say yes, of course. But I don't look forward to, you know, getting into the meat of it right now. I want to
Yes.
relish in this one as long as possible.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm already writing my next one, but I'm not in a hurry because you write it and it gets out there. But then unless you're talking about it every day and telling people about it, promoting it, showing, any of that, no one knows about it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like you have obviously a bigger platform, but still you it's never going to get as many hands as
Yeah.
you want it to unless you're talking about it every day. And it just takes a
True.
lot of effort to promote it. Yeah. And then if
Sucking.
you're already working on the next one, then that one gets lost in the shuffle. You're like, no, this one.
Oh, I got a lot. This thing's got to have a longer life than
Yes.
and then 3 weeks.
Yes, for sure. And even you think about some books that have been around for 10 years and they're still bestsellers, just because they have an impact. And
Mhm.
yeah, but I definitely appreciate a lot more. I love books, and I have been reading and a big reader ever since I graduated college. Actually, I read a ton, but I had no idea what went into writing a book until now. So it's like, I can feel your pain, and
It's a
a big
special club.
accomplishment.
You know, it's a special club
Yeah.
to be in. That
It
I'm
is.
now officially a member.
So few people actually really do it. I don't know if you know that the stats around it, but it's a very small percentage that actually can be authors, published authors, and then best-selling authors. It's a really small percentage. And a lot of people will say, well, yeah, I could write a book, or I want to write a book. It's like, okay, yeah, you could do it. Yes. But the funniest line I heard Elizabeth Gilbert say in some interview, someone was critiquing her writing or something. And she said, my written book is still better than the book you haven't written. Like, no matter what you want to say about it, unless
right?
you've written one, you really
it's like
don't
what
know.
I said about the screenwriters. Like LA's full of people who've got the best idea for a script that will never, ever see the light of day, because to sit down and write something takes a tremendous amount of motivation.
Yes.
And then once you get motivated to even start, just even continue it, and then formulate a plot, and then character development in a, you know, a good ending. I mean, not that my book has a plot or an ending, but still you need a cohesive thing. And it's, unless you have somebody literally barking at you every day, you really need to be hyper motivated to finish a book, because it's all, you're left to your own devices.
Yes.
I could sit here on my keyboard and do everything but write.
Yeah.
But trick myself, convince myself that I'm actually being productive, you know?
Right. But until you say, yeah, you have an editor that says we need it by this date. Hey, you want it to be published by the 1st of this month, and it needs to be this, and this. You're right. And if you're not motivated and it's really not what you want to write about, you're going to come up with every excuse not to do it, which is why most people don't do it, because it's really not what they wanted.
It's not what they want to do.
But,
or they don't, maybe they just don't have, the words aren't there, you know?
Right.
I got a lot of words in my mouth.
That's
But all the teachers used to tell me, I was like, one day I'll show you.
Yeah. You're making a living at it. So you have.
I was always being sent to the principal office, you know, for being a class clown. Now I tell them I get paid for it.
It's the best.
Amen.
So tell me, is there anything along the way? You have 2 kids?
I have one.
Okay. What do you tell your, what will you tell him when he gets old enough to ask for advice or whatever? But what advice, or is there anything you wish you'd learned earlier in your life or your career, or someone had told you?
Not my parents were great. They supported every endeavor. Realistically, you know, I was always a big kid, but I was never into sports. And if you met my father, you would think that this guy is a sports pusher, you know, and he wants big sons that play big ball and, you know, all this stuff. And I'm one of 4 kids. And the minute I was on stage for the first time in 3rd grade, and he saw that performance, he saw a sparkle, you know, the glimmer of a gift. And my parents threw me into everything, you know, every acting class, Second City youth programs, anything. So I always loved comedy, you know. and they were so supportive. So that's, the only thing, like my son is the only thing I tell my son, which, I could have probably benefited from, but it's so much easier now with electronics and the internet and home studios and all this stuff that my house is filled with instruments, is that in my house, you got to create something every day. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if it's a YouTube video of you playing Minecraft. I don't care if it's you on your drums practicing or playing keyboards, practicing, if he's in School of Rock for the band, or writing a short story for an assignment. You got to create something every day, as minuscule or big as you want. And just make sure you're activating that part of the brain. Because the minute you sit down and do something, it shifts your mood. Yeah. You fire those synapses in that part of your brain that have been maybe stagnant for the last 24 hours.
Yep.
And sometimes you're like, I'm good. 5 minutes later, sometimes something amazing happens, I do that. I have this podcast I host with my little sister called Come On Over, the same title as my book. And we're 45 episodes into it. We started it right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think it's brilliant. It's doing great, but I pledged to write at least one new song for the podcast, a new title track, a new theme song for the podcast every week, which turned into new segment theme songs and new little bumper theme songs. And my mom's on, and I write her a segment. So I've kind of learned to write at least 1 to 3 songs a week. And I'm not saying they're great songs. I'm not saying anybody's really listening to them, without listening to the podcast. But for me, man, it is like invaluable what writing these songs has done for my well-being, my mental well-being, and my creativity as a whole, as an artist, and how it affects every aspect of the entertainment.
It's smart. It's so smart. It's smart. Number one, it's very smart parenting for you to tell your son, just do something, whether it's 2 minutes or 20 minutes and ends up being whatever. That's a very, very smart parenting tip. I think I'll put that in my parenting book that I'm writing right now, if you don't mind.
All right. No, please.
Yeah, you're right. Get into that other brain, that side of your brain. And you're right. It's also a really good trick, like you're doing with your songs, to make yourself do it every day when you're an adult. And that's how I wrote my book. I said, every day for 2 hours, I'm going to sit down in front of the computer. That's it. And I'm not going to turn my phone on. I'm not going to look at my email. I'm going to have 2 hours. And sometimes I sat there for 10 minutes and didn't, and was thinking about things. But once you start going and you activate that part of your brain, it's amazing what else happens. And kids aren't really taught this. They're just taught, like go play outside. Then they come back and they have an idea, but they're not taught. You came back and you had that idea because you switched to another part of your brain and you got away from learning or whatever it was. They're not really taught it that way. It's very powerful. So that's really smart.
Oh, thank you.
Great advice. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And you're right. As you start doing it, more comes to you, and then you have other ideas. And it's another great thing that I've learned in this process of writing a book. I've learned a ton in this last year writing this book. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's right. It's an intense experience.
Yeah.
Front to cover, literally.
Yep. And now too, I don't know about you, when I pick up a book though, I look at I didn't even know what back matter meant or front matter or this. No, I'm like, oh, the
tipping sheets and all this, and I love how the publisher, my editor, I love it. It's through HarperCollins, William Mauro, again, called Come On Over. If anybody wants it, go look it up, comeonover.com. But they talk to me like I've written a book before. I go, I don't know what any of these words or terminology means. And you're throwing them around willy-nilly thinking, I'm like a kid from the neighborhood with sausage fingers who writes mediocre songs and cooks okay food. I never wrote a book.
I think that happens no matter who, because the same thing happened to me. I'm like, so I wrote a book. I can write. I know. I hope I can. But same thing. They're like, we're going to need this. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Oh, it's just a picture that has your whatever. I'm like, okay, I can do that.
But
they're
so context next
that
time.
Language all day. They assume you know it. And it's like, no. Yeah. Unless you're writing, unless that's the only thing you do. So next time you do it, they're going to assume you know it. So that is going to be a little bit.
Guess what? I've learned very little.
Okay. So final question for you. What do you think, or what would your wife say is the greatest gift you offer the world every day?
Whoa. The greatest gift I offer the world every day, I think it's a perspective of the neighborhood and the people from which I come from that's never really been represented in international media, if you will, because the shows are in, all my shows are on in Brazil and Europe and Canada and Southeast Asia and all this stuff. So the fact that I still live here in the same neighborhood I grew up and surround myself with my parents and my family. I mean, we were introduced from one of the distinguished men I played tennis with, most of them being my uncles in their 70s that I love playing tennis with, even though it's, on paper, it's like, is that even athletics? But for me, they make me run around and we laugh and I get stories and advice from them. I don't know. And through all my mediums, I give that whatever you can take from that, just if you're coming on up, it's hope. If you're down, it's being a chuckle or being entertained. And I keep it very familial and grounded in reality. And I think that's the gift. I am who I am, and I'm still me despite the success. It doesn't need to change yet. I didn't need to move to LA or New York. I can any day I want to, and probably have a 40% greater career, whatever that means. But I'd rather raise my son in some normalcy here.
Yeah, I love that. I can see that as a parent. You said you could be around that, and would that help you? Great. But I mean, how much of a great thing do you need anyways? If everything is what you want and you're around your family and you have a healthy, happy family and people that you love and you want to still be around, moving to not have any of that just so you can have more successes, it's not really success. That's what it is. Success
Very
is
true.
You define what it is. Yeah.
Very true.
Oh, I love talking to you. Thank you so much.
This has been great. Thank you so much, Julie. This was fun.
I know it's going to be a fun conversation for people to listen to and get insight from. So you have a book, Come On Over.
Yep.
You have a podcast, the Come On Over podcast with your sister.
Yep. Come On Over.
What do you guys talk about on that?
Everything.
Okay.
We talk about a lot of, obviously food recipes. Each episode is themed. Okay. The only, I've shied away from having all my celebrity friends on as guests, all my celebrity chef friends, everybody I know, because there's a million podcasts with the same people always on them being interviewed. Yeah. So I just interview my family. My mom has a segment. My Dana has a keto segment. She's lost 100 pounds on keto. My brother Frank has Frank's Take. We have our neighborhood bartender, Andrea, who uses the word use way too much. And we have segments about what we're watching on TV, what we're eating this week. How was our week? Everything's got a new theme song usually every week to it. And it's wild. It's fun.
It sounds like a very uplifting thing too. So it's not just like, how am I being better? It's like, how am I enjoying life and meeting different people and stuff. It sounds really positive and uplifting, which I think we all need way, way, way more of. So I'm excited to listen to it. Sounds cool.
Great.
And then your show, The Kitchen, is still on
Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern time.
What channel is it on?
Food Network.
Food Network. Okay.
Everything's on Food Network. They got me. I can't stray from the family.
Yeah. All right. So any final words for people listening? What would you say? Like, this is all about peace, possibilities, and perspective and living a good life. What's anything you want to close us with?
Sure. Believe in it all you want, but make sure you're doing while you're believing. Right.
Ooh, I like that. Yes. I will add to that. Yeah. You can't have it without doing it. Yeah. The belief is really a really, really, really big percentage of it.
Amen to that.
You can't just sit back and say, I believe, and then sleep all day and do nothing. No, but I've learned in the last couple of years, especially, doing 80% and believing 20 isn't going to get you there either.
80. Yeah, that's right.
You got to believe 80% and then do 20. And the good news is you really can do a lot less if your belief is super, super strong. Yeah. It's not to tell people not to work hard, but I've worked like very hard my entire life. And when I started kind of shifting a little bit about sitting back and just enjoying my life a little bit more and things are coming a little bit easier, it's like, that would have been nice to know when I was 20, 25, 30, 35, Right. Like, you got to work hard, but you're not supposed to, life is supposed to be good and enjoyed. And usually if it's the right thing, they're coming easy for you. It's not really coming in. It's not super, super hard. It's not supposed to be anyways.
I love that.
Yeah.
So true.
Well, thanks, Jeff. It's been a pleasure. And I can't wait to check out your book and your podcast and keep doing what you're doing, because that light and that life is what everyone needs more of. So I appreciate it. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Julie.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.